like to thank everybody for coming out for our Road Legal 4-wheel drive VIP ride, first ever. I can't thank all of you enough for coming out to the beautiful Embarrass River ATV Park and the gracious support that the Village of Tigerton has given us in our experimenting with Road Legal 4-wheel drives at this facility. Let's give it up for Village of Tigerton and Embarrass River. So if you haven't guessed, my name is Ryan Hardin. I am the director here at Road Legal 4-wheel drive. And about 4 years ago, we started coming up with the idea of how to do more recreation with 4x4s, Jeeps, trucks, that sort of thing. We have some trails in Wisconsin, and we wanted to expand upon those trails and see how we can get more communication and collaboration to get more people to recreate with these vehicles in Wisconsin. So we set out on that journey as Wrangler Riders was our original club name. We had a small club with just Jeep Wranglers, and we got feedback. We opened up a few facilities in southeast Wisconsin, and we were developing a curriculum of different types of trails, different types of users, and how they recreate. Because these are Road Legal 4-wheel drives, you can have mild to wild, and people's preferences vary everywhere in between. So asking a lot of questions, getting a lot of feedback from our state partners and tourism, and trying to get an idea of what this animal is going to look like. And so we came up with the name eventually Road Legal 4-wheel drive. We wanted to keep this with road legal vehicles because in the state of Wisconsin we already have laws for tire size, lift size, and those sorts of things to keep them legal and safe on the roads. We were just going to build off that backbone to connect a lot of the trails and tours and roads and gravel roads that already exist. So if you keep them road legal, you don't have to trailer them, and you don't have to create special permits and ordinances and all the things that we learned on the ATV and UTV side. So that is how we came about. What we want to try to do is connect people with trails. And the types of trails that we have in Wisconsin, the most of, gravel roads and dirt roads, we have a plethora of those in northern Wisconsin. Some in southern Wisconsin, not so many. We'd like to see more. But is that the cream of the crop? We had to ask that question a few different times. Are the gravel roads enough to bring tourism to Wisconsin? Is it enough to grow the recreation here? And it's not. Because that is just everyday life in Wisconsin a lot of times, just driving on gravel roads. What makes a road a trail? What makes it something that people want to go on? So as we continue to go to different types of facilities, we've gone to South Dakota, we've gone to Redbird, we go to Michigan, Indiana, we go to all these facilities and we look, what is the success rate? Why do people go to these locations? Why do people go to Drummond Island? Why? What types of trails are fun for that? And what we came up with is people want to go on what's called slow speed trails. So instead of just gravel roads that are flat and, it's pretty, it's nice, but they don't really offer any kind of excitement or challenge. A slow speed trail does. So what we try to do is, put some obstacles in there. We make the trail a little bit more difficult, and then we use a leveling system to identify how difficult it is. Very much like ski hills do and other recreations do. You know what type of trail it is based on, is it a level 5 trail? Is it a level 3 trail? Is it a level 10 trail? So we came up with a universal trail rating system based on what works out west, how the U.S. Forest Service wants people to use a 10 scale, because there's like a color system in the east, there's like a 5 scale in the Midwest, and then the 10 scales out west. So we worked with partners from the Off-Road Business Association, national organizations like United 4-Wheel Drive, and we tried to come up with ways to identify how to level trails but not like, well, Regan says it's this, and I say it's this, and Sarah says it's that, but in a systematic approach so that a land manager can say, here's how to build a level 5 trail with rocks or logs. Print it out, go. And that's what we did on our website. We put absolute numbers on it to make it concrete of if this obstacle is this tall or this, ravine goes this low, it's this level. Can you bypass it, can you not, that kind of thing. So over the course of the United States, there are many slow speed trails that are very famous, and people drive a crazy amount of mileage to get to. Moab, Colorado, East Coast, West Coast, Southern United States. I mean, there's just so many different trails and so many different parks that do this correctly. This is going to be an editing right now. Okay. So we want to try to bring slow speed trails to Wisconsin. And so we started asking some of our partners, we started to collaborate with the ATV, UTV organizations, with Wisconsin 4x4 groups. We tried to ask questions on why don't we have more, how did we get what we have, and how do we go forward together. So as we're just one cog in the wheel, it's something that we can all strive and work for. And because our universal trail rating system is designed universally, it can work for motorcycles, ATVs, UTVs, and road legal four-wheel drives. So that was the premise of that universal trail rating system. And that's why when we go to our annual meetings for WATFA and the Off-Highway Motorcycle Association, these are the types of things that we want to bring up. So hopefully we can work together on some of this stuff, and some of it we won't. And like with the snowmobiles, obviously snowmobiles want flat and smooth. That's the safest way to do that. But could we put a slow speed trail on the side somewhere for the UTVs and ATVs, or where it's appropriate, road legal four-wheel drives? That may be a possibility. Maybe you don't need to create a whole new trail. Maybe you can just use the rest of the easement for that access road and put it over there, put some rocks over there, and help, let's say there's a trail that constantly gets washed out. Well, what if we put rock reinforcement on both sides, call that a slow speed trail, but then it also helps prevent erosion on the main trail, which over the course of the trail becomes the most sustainable way to do it. So these are all these things that we're trying to talk about and come up with so that we can make that happen. So we have, that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I mean, we're going to go out, we're going to ride Jeeps, we're going to go have some fun out on the trails, we're going to experience some slow speed trails. We have a perimeter that we're going to go around, and then the inside trails are more crawly. Right? As you can see, Regan's machine here is propped up on a rock. We have not only slow speed trails, but we have slow speed waypoints. We call them parking crawls. So we have these rocks that are perfectly great for crawling on, but could we use them as waypoints as a tourism destination when you can't put a trail anywhere? These are things we're talking about. These are things that nobody's talked about before. So if we can do it, we'll try to do it. If we can't, then we can't. So with that, I would like to bring up some guest speakers, if that would be possible. I guess
You're looking for volunteers?
I would. I'm kind of sucking wind up here right now, yeah. Talked everything okay. I'm done in 5 minutes. All right, now what do I say? Yes.
I'll ask, so we've got a contingency of legislators and support in there. What roadblocks do you foresee and things that maybe we could answer some questions on your aspect that you could see that maybe withholding progress with stuff like this?
So the question is, what roadblocks do we have right now? And to create a slow speed trail network, we need to have a funding mechanism that keeps them growing and sustainable. So we would like to entertain at some point a registration program that would bring more slow speed trails to the state of Wisconsin for road legal four-wheel drives, which then would be the first stage. Maybe then regular four-wheel drives as the next stage, non-licensed ones, or those types of things. So that's probably one of the main things always is a budget problem. We've used our nonprofit funds from our membership and our events to fund our own slow speed trail development. So we have enough to create data with to say this is what we would like to do. So before we introduce a statewide program, let's do it on a private side first and see before we put ink on paper and waste all the legislators' times. Let's make sure it's right first. And again, this isn't our first time at the table with this stuff. Our family, my dad runs the Wisconsin ATV UTV Association, which you may be familiar with. We have now one of the most popular ATV UTV trail networks in the upper Midwest, and we're very proud of that. That's Chad. That's Chad. Does that answer your question? You good? Okay. So, you had something, James?
Just, I guess, if you want to go through insurance, what protects the landowner, what protects the state, the county, I guess, through the group. I guess you can
Sure.
kind of walk through some of that.
So one of the main barriers on the private sector is to protect the landowner from liability issues arising out of recreational use. And under the private side, we put together a national insurance program through Road Legal 4-Wheel Drive, through National Motorsports, that clubs can take out to protect the local landowners if their landowner insurance policies. So Road Legal 4-Wheel Drive was required to have a $3 million liability policy before I could approach the village of Tigerton to use the Embarrass River ATV Park, because this goes outside of their norm. If they approve it to make it part of their norm, then we may not need that anymore, because then it'll be for public use. But in this time, this is what we want to do. Now, James, he's got Levoy's Nut and Bolt Shop. He runs a business, and he also has crawling trails in the back behind his shop. That's another thing that we're very concerned of. If we're going to do a ride, again, we have the Trail Ambassador program. We're doing it the right way. We check the machines. We make sure that people have the right training. And then we go out and do these scheduled rides. That's how we do it. So in the event that something does happen, if the primary coverage for the vehicle doesn't cover it, we have our liability policy that takes over on that. If we have a statewide program, we have what's called the Recreational Hold Harmless Law, which may apply for recreational trails if that would be approved. So it's commonly known as like the berry picking law. These are ways to protect those landowners when they're giving recreational access through their property. I'm pretty sure I said that right. Ish. We're going with it. Yes.
Do you see this as sort of like if you build it, they will come from other states, or do you see that as you guys have to get involved in some advertising out of state, sort of promoting it across the country to other groups like yourself?
Yes and yes. The rides that we're already putting together in southeast Wisconsin, because we have a large population base, the small rides we do at Regan's Land, at Camp Sinoa, at here, they're packed. We're bringing people in from Illinois already. We got members coming in from as far away as Virginia, and it is really working quite well.
Word travels fast on social media.
Word does travel fast.
Really, really fast.
It's a very tight-knit community, and I work at a large Oshkosh corporation, a huge company, and I know every Jeep that's in the parking lot. I'm friends with every one of them, mainly because we have Jeeps. But hey, what trails you hitting? What trails you hitting? Everybody's talking. And unfortunately, everybody's going out of Wisconsin right now on Oshkosh. But then you've got all your social media. You see posts of people rock climbing, hitting like, what trails was that? That looks really good. And they're going to the places that they're posting of each other, and it's self-fulfilling basically of seeing where the good spots are and who's telling who on the good spots. And then Ryan's got his own Facebook group of showing things that's advertising for his, Camp Sinoa and Reagan's location and various other places. That there's a lot of free advertisement with that, just the community.
And then what we were trying to do to build on that is put together a yearly event called Crawler Fest. It's a celebration of slow-speed trails for road legal 4-wheel drives. And we've been working with the Department of Tourism. We're probably going to do it here at Tigerton for 2020 to try to bring a regional event. There's really nothing in Wisconsin that is focused on this type of recreation. So we want to bring that to the limelight. So gathering the community, like if you look at Road Legal 4-Wheel Drive's website, it works very much like a social media platform, all right? You sign up, you friend people, you go to events, you find people to go riding with, not only with the trail ambassadors, but as individuals. Go out, go camping, make rides. That's the whole premise of everything we want to have happen. We want it to happen in Wisconsin more than out of Wisconsin, but we're trying to give an outlet to make that possible. And unlike some other social media platforms, we do police what is posted there. So inappropriate, illegal activity, non-road legal machines, we don't let that stuff fly because everybody's looking at us, and we have a reputation to uphold and ethics to uphold, and we take that stuff very, very seriously. So we've learned from the history of the groups that have done this in the past that continue to do it, like Wisconsin 4x4, WOVA, Wisconsin Off-Highway Vehicle Association. These groups that have been around for somewhat 20, 30 years have had a lot of hardships because of some of the unethical use of the vehicles. So we want to address those issues right away, and that's what we did. So, yes, Regan.
One thing to add, I do a lot of traveling out of state, so from a tourism standpoint, I'm not alone. If you're not booking 6 to 12 months in advance, you can't even get into these places. We're going to Missouri next weekend, we're going to Tennessee 2 weekends after that. We've been to Michigan, we've been to South Dakota, been to Indiana, been to Illinois, been to Michigan a lot. We spend a ton of money in these places. I mean, you can fit 500 rigs at a time every day. You have to wait 6 months to get in. I mean, they're packed. It's not inexpensive. I'm spending $1,000 maybe for a weekend.
The whole community benefits between restaurants, lodging, everything.
Yeah, so there is nothing in Wisconsin, so we do end up having to leave to go somewhere. And I'm not alone. I think we're going to Wind Rock, Tennessee coming up. I think we have almost 100 people going. From Wisconsin, taking the rigs, and we're just heading south. And we're going to spend a week there. Same with Tennessee, Missouri. It's just be fun. We're all heading on down there. But we're not alone, so it's a big draw from a tourism standpoint. There's a lot of other states where they've made it happen. And the group, the industry is so tight-knit. Once a new park opens up, it does spread like wildfire. And next thing you know, there's a place you can go ahead in there and by the droves. There's millions of Jeep owners, 4x4 owners that just are looking for places to go on vacation. That's where my vacations are 3 weeks a year, 100% is out of Wisconsin, off-roading. And I just thought throwing that out there that people will come if there is something available.
I was in Drummond Island 2 weeks ago and I made the mistake trying to find lodging in the about February time frame, and there was nothing we had attended because there was just nothing. Unless we could get 10 people, but there's like one 10-person cabin left open, and I wasn't going to spend $1,000 for the weekend for 2 people. But also so if you're not familiar, Jeep Wrangler redid their model in the 2018, went from what they call the JK series to the JL series. And this has taken off like wildfire. I was curious a couple weeks ago and looked up the sales figures. I'm working in the automotive industry. They jumped from about the 150,000 vehicles a year into the 250,000 vehicles a year. So there's a lot of people. I mean, just turn on your television. How many car manufacturers are out there selling the outdoor trail dream of everyone? Subaru's doing it. Ford's bringing out their Bronco back. I thought that thing was dead 20 years ago. I hear GMC's bringing the Jimmy back.
Off-road Jimmy.
Yeah, supposedly. It looks, the pictures I've seen of it.
Yeah, they're all
it's
trying to tap into the Jeep crowd.
They're
'cause
all
spreading
trying to
like
tap
crazy.
into it, and they're selling the dream of the off-roading for us. And except for Wisconsin, you can't do it there. And just the numbers that well, you can to a point, but the numbers that they're selling is just like wildfire, and the OEMs are selling it for you.
And if you look at the Jeep Wrangler, these Rubicon models that have the lockers and the sway bar disconnects and all of these fancy features that are making it a very trail worthy vehicle right off the showroom floor, you don't even have to do much with them. I mean, the new JLs have 33-inch tires. I didn't upgrade mine for a year and a half, and I was able to hit South Dakota level 6 trails. I mean, it was tough, but I was able to sort of kind of do what Regan was doing. Sort of. I didn't follow his exact paths, but he got us through. But the premise of the slow speed trails is build trails for the majority and then have some harder offshoots for the minority, okay? So you have that Rubicon that you just bought, you're ready to go hit some trails. You have a very capable machine without doing any upgrades. It is ready to hit those halfway mark trails already. And people are ready to do that. And we can't provide that here. We're not providing that here.
One quick thing, Ryan. So I've got a place down in Allenton, got a little off-road private property that I love people to come. And we have a Facebook page. So my wife, she's in charge of posting events. And the last event she posted think we were allowing 40 rigs to come for 4 hour, like from 1 to 5. We're gonna have to do a little dinner afterwards. It's sold out in less than 1 hour. In less than 1 hour. We had to put up, we were doing it on Saturday, then we opened up Sunday and posted, okay, you know, due to overwhelming demand, we said Sunday's open, 12 minutes.
Gone in 12
Gone,
minutes.
12 minutes. And that was just from people that watched me on Facebook. I mean, it was like sold out instantly. I could have probably brought 400 people in. You know, we were turning people down all over the place. So that's such a demand out there. It's pretty incredible.
As your insurance agent, I highly don't do that. But he's absolutely right. I mean, people go to these events and they are, there's just not enough out there. And the things that are doing, the people who are doing it right, the parks that are doing it right, are doing very well when they're doing this. So, yeah.
Does Road Legal 4-Wheel Drive have sort of a training? I'm sure there's a learning curve to negotiate these challenging courses. You guys offer, this is how you approach this, you don't just hop in the Jeep, take off, and
Yes.
say.
Education is very, very much a part of this recreation, and we want to build it like that. When you're going out and you're going on slow speed trails, there are things you need to know. And we're building an online resource for that. We do on-site training. If somebody's never been there before, we take them in a separate group, or we take two or three different groups, depending on your skill level. And we do this in a way so that nobody feels pressured to do things they're not ready to do yet. Even though the machine is capable of it, because you can buy it off the showroom floor just like this. But that doesn't mean you're ready for it. So we understand that, we identify that, and we separate the groups up so that people, this is a stepping stone process. So offering the education online, as well as on-site, is another big thing that we're trying to tackle. And then having those resources available to train instructors so that we can replicate the system, statewide and beyond is a big part of this. And there are groups that are doing that, and they're doing it very, very well. In the United States, also in Australia, there's a lot of really good content that we can use and then apply it for our state.
So that can be generating program revenue for you and that, and we can pay for that, or is that sort of just you offer it?
We offer it as part of the event registration fee, and then online there's going to be some of it that's going to be free because we need to get them in the door and do it the right way. And then some of the more advanced stuff we could possibly put a fee on that, depending on what the nonprofit's going to allow and what we're limited to do. But yeah, I mean and could we do that as part of the registration program? Maybe, I don't know. I mean, it's worked well for the ATV side and the UTV side, but again, that's for kids. You know, we're already adults, we all already are licensed, but does that mean we can hit level 4 crawling trails? I don't think so, not in my opinion. You take a person who's coming right off the street and you put them on slow speed trails, we have a process.
I think that's why everything's trail led by someone who is trained in it. So you've got someone in the front, you've got someone in the back, and then there's a lot of people, you got someone in the middle. And you all have a person with a winch in the front, pull straps, so if someone behind you is in trouble, you can help them out. But it is trailer led, slow speed trails, and you keep your group of 5 to 10 people together, and you're in charge of them. So that's how people learn. They're in the middle of the group, they're watching the guy in front. They need a spotter to get out, slow things down. After crawling a rock like this for the first time, don't remember to do it. That's the fun part for a lot of us, is just seeing other people get excited and they don't realize what they have. They have no idea what their vehicle can do. They just have to get past a little bit of uneasiness. Everybody here can crawl on that rock. Right? It's just, I don't know, I might hit something, I might break something. How to do it right? And we train people to do it right. And then it's kind of fun watching their evolution. That one week you'll be someone following you. Next week, they're doing stuff on their own. Third week, they're okay, hold on. You still stay with the group. And next thing you know, they're a trail guide. 4 months later. So it's pretty fun.
You get people constantly coming in and they're like Regan said, they don't know how to put in 4 low yet, they don't know this kind of stuff. 8 hours later, after that same ride, they're like, what tires are those? What lift is that? What did you do to that thing? They're jazzed, they're really, really jazzed to get out there and do it again. but now they see what the vehicle is capable of, you know. So it's and that like Regan said, that's almost like a drug to us. I mean, you get somebody in, you do it the right way, you know. There's, you know, we're not making fun of anybody. Nobody's being belittled. Ask all the questions you want to ask, and that's our recipe for success. And I think that's how we've grown to one of the largest groups in Wisconsin because of that setup that all of our trail ambassadors and trail guides adhere to. So,
in addition to Jeep brand offers Jeep Jamborees and it's sponsored by Jeep and Rancho and some of the other big suppliers of aftermarket parts. I've been to 2 of them. They bring in there is one in Wisconsin, Mole Lake. I have not been to that one. I've heard it's just logging rolls and kind of boring compared to some of the other ones. But they break them up between the ones I've seen between 5 and 8 different groups from what was the word you used? It's crazy to ball crawler, we call them, which somebody might have a great vehicle, but they've never taken it off of anything beyond the parking lot right there, to some crazy stuff that it's just like, wow. And you kind of pick the group you do, really great trail guides that last year, the purple one out there, we went out there pure stock. We went in kind of a mid-range group with people with vehicles like Ryan's that had never been off-road, and the people didn't know what, haven't showed, people getting out showing here, you got to put it in neutral first before you put it in 4 low, and walking them through those things, by the end of the day, that they're like, I can't believe how much stuff I can do. And it's actually a quite rapid progression and evolution through there, and the next year they're usually going up a couple levels, and even with some of the things, most real challenging obstacles have a bypass. If you're uncomfortable with it and you think the trail guys are going there, you go around the bypass and just go on to the next one.
Right, one more thing too on tourism. So the Chief has got the Badge of Honor trail system. So there's roughly 40 trails scattered all over the United States that they partner with the state. They put it on Chief's website that if you go to that state, to that trail, and you log in using GPS that you're taking the trail, they send you a little badge, like on the side of the blue Jeep, there's little badges. Those are from out-of-state Chief Badge of Honor trails. And some people go to all the national state parks in a lifetime out to see all the state parks. There's a huge contingency of people that do nothing but travel the Jeep Badge of Honor tours to get to one of those trails, to say I made it through, and Jeep sends me a badge to say I made it through it, and it's just like a little honor thing to put on your vehicle. There's 40 of them, and they're constantly looking for new places to put on the system. So when states have something, they contact Jeep. They go through their qualification process, make sure it's safe, it's labeled properly, they get great facilities around it. And we got a huge moneymaker to get into those. When we go to them, you got to get a plan 6 months ahead of time. You're not going to find lodging. You're just not going to do it because you're so backed up with people. It's like going to the Grand Canyon. And it's not like when we were kids trying to go to the Grand Canyon. You just go in there and just kind of walk around. Now, if you don't plan for that, you just sit in line for 3 hours. So there's, again, that pent-up demand is out there. If you have a place, people will go.
and on top of, like, again, we tried to use that Jeep Badge of Honor thing in our system as well, where we, the members who are here, like Luana, you haven't been here before with your Jeep, all right? You're a member, you're going to get the Tigerton badge on your profile on Road Legal 4-Wheel Drive. It's our only way that we can kind of emulate what they're doing on the success side of Jeep. And then we have, like, points for going to events as well, so those are worth raffle prizes at our annual meetings and that sort of thing. The other thing I'd like to talk about is when you do go to a trail, on our site, you can review those trails. So like you have a listing on Travel Wisconsin, you have a listing on our site, you can download the trail maps, you can then read the reviews of people who have been on that trail. How is the trail doing? Is the gate open or closed? Is the water level high or low? Is there what? This is real-time feedback from the riders themselves, and I think we could really use that to show when Regan and I are going to go three hours away to hit this trail system. We're going to look at those reviews first and see, should we make the trip? And that has worked really, really well. We've also turned it into an event called the Geo Crawl. So it's like a polka run, all right? But instead of going bar to bar, you're going trail to trail. And then when you write a review, that's your stamp on the polka run sheet. And that's worked great. And manufacturers give us prizes to give away for those events. So it's just an excuse to go riding, basically. But all these things that we put it up on our site. We are just trying all these different things to try to create the right kind of activity and the right kind of feedback. And some of the trails are very boring. And I said, right, if this is just a gravel road, give it a bad review. Because if we get hundreds of bad reviews on this trail system, I can go and say, this is the data, here's the land manager, can we do something about this? I have statistics now that I can say, the user group is saying they want something different. Okay, that just gives us the data to do that. So, again, take it off the website. These are things we want to talk about on a statewide level. So, any other questions? These are great questions, great feedback. Yes?
So is Tigerton now part of your trail system that you're promoting? Is it a permanent trail now, or?
No. We are, this is a test phase. All right, so the Village of Tigerton put the ATV trail park here, the Embarrass River ATV park in, how long ago was that? 92? 93? Yeah. I know I couldn't drive yet even before it was in here. And this park has an incredible history. And the village wanted to turn this land into something for recreation and tourism. ATVs and UTVs are the upcoming recreation, so they built an ATV park around it. And it's been a very, very great opportunity to get people to go camping and do that sort of stuff. As the trail systems and routes drastically increased in the state of Wisconsin for ATVs and UTVs, we're finding that this park isn't as utilized as it used to be. So the motorcycles and the Jeeps are alternative recreations that the village is considering to try and boost numbers, bring campers back in, and that sort of thing. The trails are also being changed a little bit to make them more of a challenge, to give you more time on those trails. When you have a really flat trail, how do you make a real flat trail exciting? You go fast. What's the problem with going fast?
People get hurt.
Dangerous, injury, dust, noise. All right, we got to contend with those items. Slow speed trails, though, you're going slow. Reduction in injury, reduction in dust, reduction in noise. It handles a slow speed trail, identifies the most prominent ways that a trail gets shut down, and you don't need as much land to do it. This is 528 acres. All right, very limited amount of trails, but if you slow them down, you cannot hit the same trail twice in a whole weekend. So that's kind of some of the things we're talking about with the village, and we're just here to help. You know, and if a trail didn't have a name, we gave it a name and put it on our site, but it's still considered a private trail because it's not open to the public yet. If Tigerton opens it up to the public, the waters have parted and the masses will rejoice, because we will then have a full-on off-highway vehicle park open to the public, and we want to see that happen. We don't want it to be just our membership. We want to see it as a public recreation because it will help the local community. It'll help the local parks stay open, and we will take very much pride in helping that happen. So,
Right into it. Slow speed trails, we're talking maybe 3 miles an hour, 4 miles an hour is what we travel at. So when you are at a park like this and it's multi-use where you have ATVs, you can see the difference. Even if you look at trail damage, there is none with our group. When the ATVs are going 20 miles an hour on corners and they're rutting up the ground, that's all from high-speed activities. We don't have any of that. And quite honestly, when we're out here, most ATVs actually stop and watch us. Like, oh, look at this, look at those guys. But we're going very slow. So it is a safe activity.
now there's a time to go, you know, there are trails that are designed for the higher rate of speed, but the stuff we don't have, those trails are not something you'll drive 4 hours for in a lot of cases. You know, we want to build something that, man, I want to hit this because this is a challenge. This is an opportunity to do something I haven't done before, and I can get my badge of honor and do these things because this is something credible to, you know, my recreation that I want to do.
The reason for four-wheel drive.
A reason to actually put in four-wheel drive and four low that nobody tends to use four low in half their pickup trucks and Jeeps because there's no place to do that.
Someplace cool though. People repeatedly will come back.
Yes.
Also, I mean, kind of give a little perspective. Also touching on the tourism aspect of it. I mean, like I've told you previously, I belong to a scrambler group, and so guys from all over the country, we go to the sand dunes every year in Michigan, the Silver Lake Sand Dunes. And I don't like the campground that I always stay at, Sandy Shores. I think it's like March 10th or whatever it is. It's early March that you cannot make reservations before this. Day one, if you're not calling right the split second that they're opening, you have to keep calling and calling and calling. After 156 redials, I finally got through. I was able to get my reservations for August, and even then, most of the year was booked out, and I was just happened to get my spot that I wanted.
It kind of
Take
sounds
perspective.
like trying to bring a camper to a state park. If you don't have that booked online way in advance, good luck.
Now that whole town, between the restaurants, all the things, I mean the place, I mean it's like the Wisconsin Dells. People just flood in and everything just booms.
Right.
Because of our community.
And I think we have enough county parks, state property, federal property in Wisconsin that we could actually develop these types of trails and make Wisconsin a destination. And we have the glacial features. We have the rocks that, you know, Illinois and Indiana don't have. We have the stuff to make these trails. And we just basically got to do it now. And it's exciting to see. I mean, I get goosebumps thinking about how much we can bring into this state by doing it. And not only for us on the Jeep and Road Legal 4-wheel drive side, but we've seen the same thing in South Dakota where they have this crawling trails. Well, the UTVs love that too. We got like these meccas of, you know, you got everybody at the gas station and everybody, all the recreations, the bikes and the ATVs and the UTVs and the Jeeps. We're all, okay, which trails are we hitting? What are we doing? And then everybody disperses and goes out and has fun. Man, that's possible here. You know, we have the materials to do that. So this park represents a very good example of what that could look like on a small 500-acre parcel. You know, we don't have a lot of parcels, and you got the Wind Rocks. You know, it's the largest. What is that? 60. How much? 62,000 acres. You're never going to get that much in one.
Missouri, 700 acres I'm going to next week.
Yeah. So I mean, that's more in the line of what we could probably end up doing. But we have a lot of the trails and routes already in Wisconsin that we can put slow speed trails next to. You know, we're not trying to add a lot of trails. We can literally put these challenge areas or slow speed trails next to it. So now I see why he's going. That's a lot of load. If you want the private links, I'll send you the private link. I usually don't post those publicly, usually. Okay, this is great dialogue. This really helps us on the recording side to figure out what it is we want to tackle first, the objectives we want to do. And our group is going to be here this weekend helping the park. Now, the park is not closed for just Road Legal 4-wheel drives. Like the 3 times a year we do this, they close the park just for Road Legal 4-wheel drives for a safety aspect. And we're doing that until we are confident that all the user groups can coexist on one property at the same time. And if we have more slow speed trails and we do directional trails, like on even days you go this way, on odd days you go this way, and the proper signage, we could be in the Jeeps at the same time we're with the ATVs and UTVs. But you can't get too big, even too big UTVs, you can't get them around each other very well on a lot of trail systems. So again, these are things that may be something we look at for other recreations as well. Yes, Luana?
The concept of having a challenge run right next to a regular gravel trail that you already have is something that I just don't know.
Yep.
It's not going to take a lot
Yep.
to do that.
And it's
There's
already
other
being
things.
done. On the ATV and UTV side, we put in intense use areas on the side of the trails so that people have a place to blow off steam without wrecking the trails. And that's alleviated a lot of the trail maintenance that had to be done. So we have some data on the ATV, UTV side that does work.
We're talking, if you just got your logging road going down, a lot of folks like to just drive through, but then have those offshoots. There's a lot of draw right there, and it's a simple one that could be dealt with. To have the support of the state or the county or the village or whatever, that one is very vital.
Yes, absolutely. It can be done very quickly.
Proof right there, family oriented.
Yes, and when you bring the kids and they're having fun in the Jeeps too, I mean, man, there's just nothing better seeing a group of family recreating, camping, exploring, fishing, and that's the difference between our recreation, I think, than ATVs and UTVs. Our vehicles are used for transportation and could be used for recreation. So when we're doing our events, people are bringing their mountain bikes, people are bringing their fishing poles and their kayaks. They're doing the trail rides, but they're also doing the other recreations that they're used to doing. Whereas with the ATV UTV group, it's more specifically just for that recreation. So I think ours is more diversified to that. If we're going to build a park, giving them the frisbee golf to do and that kind of stuff is very beneficial to our user group. Not to say that it doesn't happen with the ATV UTV side, but I base a lot of my judgment on the road legal side off of that because that's the industry I'm in.
I was laughing when I was at the Jeep Jamboree 2 weekends ago. You get through some very challenging technical obstacles that takes a lot of time. Usually a lot of people get out. We had a group of 17 Jeeps, and everybody kind of watches it, how they tackle it, kind of learn from each other and how they do it. But I think we had about 8 kids in there that got. One of so excited as watching the Jeeps go up there, but they got out and they had their little RV toy Jeep that they were driving up the rocks and showing what they were doing with their little toys. And we were all playing. The adults out there, I mean, they kind of cordoned off the kid play section on their own little rock section that no vehicles could go in, but they had their own little, I mean, their future Jeep is coming up right there.
A 5-year-old does that.
I do appreciate everybody for coming out. There are waters, Terry's sitting on the cooler. There's coffees and sandwiches. Let's go ahead and grab some sandwiches. We're going to start talking about putting our folks in the Jeeps. You can take rides in new Jeeps, old Jeeps, built Jeeps, stock Jeeps. Take multiple trips and meet with multiple people. That's what we're here for. And we'll go around the perimeter. We'll take some crawling trails, and the folks taking people around are going to ask the VIPs what types of trails they want to go on. I want you to be comfortable in doing this. They all have safety belts. They all have the road legal safety equipment, but you'll notice we've taken the doors off of some of them. We got the tops off of some of them to give you that open air experience. So thank you very much for coming.